Hi. As always, find your seat and let's get to work. This is the third, and for the moment at least the final part of our little crash course on disentangling the various knots of thought and emotion that arise and bind us. Here we are going to bring together all of the things we have practiced in the first two parts and apply them. In order to apply them, we are going to have to trigger stuff. And so apparently trigger warnings are a thing, so be warned, I guess. But first, take a moment to settle here. Settle into the sensations of your body sitting and of your body breathing here and now. Not elsewhere, not later. You might start by checking in with those points of contact between your body and the supporting surface below you, where your ass meets the cushion or the chair. And lean into those points with your attention until the distinction between your ass and the chair begins to get really blurry, and in fact reveals itself as always having been blurry. Notice that as a matter of your subjective experience, what you feel is not ass or chair or jeans in between. What you feel is something of a cloud of sensation, maybe pressure, tension, tingling, vibration. You think ass and you think chair, and there is probably mental imagery of ass and the chair and the meeting of the two, for sure. But you do not feel ass or chair. And if you could uncouple the different bits that make up the experience of ass meeting chair, the seeing and the hearing and the feeling, if you could tease them apart, untangle them and decongeal them, there will be no feeling of ass and no feeling of chair. No, really. This is an example of an intertwining of sensory inputs and entangling. And it might help to clarify that not all entanglements are necessarily bad. After all, you do need the entangled combination of sensory inputs that make up the sense of your hand, such that you could reach out for a glass of water without missing it and spilling stuff. So we're not going around disentangling everything all the time. I mean, you can if you want to, by all means. But for the moment, we do want to focus our attention on the entanglements that don't necessarily serve the life we want to live. But anyway, it is always good to do these sorts of exercises just to settle you in the momentary experience. And the momentary experience of your ass meeting chair is that there is no ass or chair to be found outside of your head. As a matter of what it looks like from inside your head, obviously, we are saying nothing about the objective reality of asses or chairs here. In fact, for the next couple of minutes, we can dispense with that entirely. Spend a few moments doing this. It is a fun exercise to do. And you will notice that your attention might toggle back and forth. Once you find that point of there clearly being no ass and no chair, it might tend to automatically scuttle back into the comfort of the solidity of objects. Let it play. Simply follow it and rest here for a few moments. And then move or work your attention up your spine. And as you do so, you could wave your spine a little bit to accentuate those curves that we have in the lumbar curve, the thoracic curve, the cervical curve of your neck. And do what you can. If, like some, you have spinal injuries that on some days don't particularly feel friendly towards waving, wave a little, or think waving. Just shuffle around a little bit to find the point at which your body is balanced all by itself, without you having to hold it up with your muscles or with your force of will. You could open and relax your shoulders. You could allow the muscles around your eyes and around your jaw to relax. You might put your head down a little bit if that's comfortable, and close your eyes. It's easier that way. And then find your breath wherever you feel it the clearest today. Tip of your nose, back of your throat, your chest rising and falling, your abdomen, maybe even the subtle movements of your pelvic floor, if you're that way inclined. And notice clearly that the breath has always been there. You are just tuning in with your attention. It is like you went out to grab something while the movie was running and you came back mid-scene. Nobody paused the damn thing. In fact, the thing never pauses unless you pause it on purpose, and that's a conversation for a different time. Find your breath. Allow it to remind you that you are now. You are not where your mind might tell you that you are, which could be 30 minutes from now, having finished this, moving around, doing stuff you think you would rather want to be doing. Or 3 days in the past, replaying the conversation you had with your spouse. You are now. And all of those appearances, they are now too. Your breath is a good reminder of this because it is nowhere else. Follow your breath. If only to tune up your attention a little bit. You don't have to count it, you don't have to shape it or structure it in any way. Let it be as it is, and simply follow. See if you can catch your breath the moment it arises in your awareness. Follow it all the way through the inhale, the little pause at the top, and all the way through the exhale, and try to spot the very moment it vanishes from your awareness. Do this for a minute, just to warm up a little. And every time you notice that your mind has wandered into mental imagery of other places and other times, thoughts about the present or the future, about the things you want or don't want, things you like or dislike, or you may have become distracted by physical sensations such as the itch on your nose or the pain in your knee. Remind yourself gently, this too. This moment right now is made of this stuff too. These thoughts and images that feel and seem so far away are nowhere else but here. They are a part of this breath, this one, right now. This too. I suppose that the problem we run into when we try to find the moment and try to be more present in the present moment, most of us approach it with the feeling that if I could only be more present in this moment. But there is a bit of a jujitsu self-fuck going on here. And it is quite obvious in the words we use in our pursuit of the present moment. Because what we are really saying when we say, I want to be more present, more in the moment, is that actually, I want a moment that is better than this moment. I want a moment, another moment that feels different, that feels more present, a later moment. I mean, very soon, I'd like it to be the very next moment if at all possible, but I want a moment that is different than this one, that is better than this one, where I am more present than I am in this one. And yet the moment already is. You're already present. You've got nowhere else to fucking be. Now you might not like it, and for all intents and purposes, the present moment might suck, but it is, and it is the only one you've got. You haven't got that later, better moment where you are better and more present. Notice this trickery. But if you wield your attention skillfully, if you attune, for example, to the direct sensations of your breathing now, the breath can remind you that it is always here, as are you. And when you are ready, begin attending to your internal subjective experience of sitting, of breathing, the experience of your mind wandering and flowing as it naturally does. By attending to the arising appearances in your spaces of seeing of mental imagery, hearing of mental talk or thoughts, and feeling of the emotional body sensations. Allow your attention to move around these three domains of sensory input and sensory flow as it naturally does. Simply follow it like you did with the breath, without messing around with it, without telling it where to go or what to do. And when you notice that your attention has landed on a mental image, without getting entangled in the content of the images, oh, that's what it is. Oh, where did that memory come from? Oh, shit, that is the oven. I forgot to prepare dinner. God damn it, and so on. Simply note that as a moment of seeing. It doesn't matter what it is that you're seeing, but there is seeing going on, and the seeing is being known. And when you notice that your attention has landed on a moment of mental talk, a moment of thought, about anything, without getting entangled in the content, without engaging in the conversation, without speaking or singing along with the thought, simply note that and label it as hearing. And if you notice that your attention has landed on a moment of emotional body sensation, perhaps a bit of tension in your belly from having to sit here listening to me, for instance, without trying to work out what the emotion is, what has caused it, and what it might mean, simply note the physical, emotional body sensation as a moment of feeling and label it feeling. There is feeling going on, and this feeling is being known. Do this for a minute or two. It might seem fairly hard for you to let your attention just wander as it naturally does. And you might find yourself uncontrollably moving it around on purpose. You might not want to. You might think, fucking hell, I'm supposed to let it be. I want to let it be. Just let it flow. Why can't I let it be? And yet here you are, moving it about, unable to control yourself. And so you might move your attention from seeing to check what's happening in the hearing, and then to check what's happening in the feeling. Oh crap, there's nothing here. Let's better check what's happening in the seeing. And you might think you're doing it wrong, that you're messing things up. 2 points here. Firstly, this too is a moment of hearing. Note it and label it as hearing. And if you notice that there is an emotional body sensation associated with it, simply note that and label it as feeling. And the second point, it doesn't matter. Really. If you keep finding yourself moving your attention about, it's okay. Each of those moments, each of those movements is something to note and label. So relax. You're not here to perform. You're not here to do well. But also, as long as you are here, it's hard to fuck it up. So simply, each time that you notice that your attention is occupied by a particular appearance in one of the three domains of sensory flow, regardless of how it got there, note it and label it. Seeing, hearing, or feeling. And if at some point you find that all three of these domains are active and full of appearances at the same time, just choose one to note and label. Doesn't matter how you choose. It doesn't matter if you consciously make the choice or not. And it doesn't matter which you choose. Just choose one. Note it, label it, and move on. This seemingly simple practice of attending to your internal experience by tracking its constituent bits and the arisings of appearances in these different domains of sensory flow allows us to see something fundamental. Well, several fundamental things, but one of them is that nothing remains for very long. Essentially, what you are doing with this practice is moment by moment you are asking yourself, what is this? As in, what is this experience? And what you are noticing is that it changes so very quickly. In fact, it moves around so much and so quickly that you have to enforce a pace, such as one noting per breath, for instance, in order not to become overwhelmed by just how many arisings of seeings, hearings, and feelings there are that make up your moment-to-moment experience of being alive, of being you. Nothing remains for very long. Relax into this knowledge. It all changes. Things vanish, new things pop up every moment, and you can let most of it go. So set up a pace. One noting per breath is a good practice. And it's a good practice of letting go of most of the things that arise. You don't have to hold on to them. You don't have to catch them, note them, and label them. It's not so much that you don't have to, it's that you can't. It's not a thing. Your attention has a limited capacity. An arising somewhere pushes out a different arising somewhere else. And so you can simply learn to notice what your attention does. And over time, with practice, you can learn to wield it, to take it to places where you know it should go, which are often the places it doesn't want to go. Do this simple practice for a few more moments. And when you're ready, let's change the perspective slightly. You're going to keep attending to the arisings in the seeing, hearing, and feeling spaces. You're going to note them as they arise. but we are going to pay a little bit more attention to their changing and to their vanishing. That means that the pace at which you work might slow down, and the practice will change just a little bit, such that when you notice an arising of mental imagery or mental talk or emotional body sensation, you're not simply going to note it and move on, but you're going to bring all of your intensity and all of your concentration power onto it for a moment to see it clearly as it is, without trying to shape it, without trying to improve it or work it out, without being guided by your opinions of it, without trying to hold on to it for longer than it is, and without trying to make it go away quicker than it will. And just like you did with your breath, simply bring your focus onto it, but don't mess with it. Don't tell yourself what it is that you're seeing. Don't tell it what it is. Don't tell yourself what the thought is that you are hearing. Do not engage in the conversation. Engaging in the conversation with your thoughts is not to be focused on them. It is to be lost in thought, and then give the same courtesy to your emotional body sensations. And what you will notice is that the moment that you do that, whatever appearance happens to be, as soon as it arises in your awareness, it begins to change. It begins to unravel and commences the process of vanishing. This too is vanishing. And as this particular appearance is vanishing and your attention naturally moves onto something else, note that and bring the same concentration power to it for a moment. You don't have to try to make a given appearance remain for longer than it is, nor disappear faster than it will. You can't do anything about this anyway. This is a bit of a tricky thing to do, but it's like learning to balance. You'll get it. It's a matter of practice. If at some point you happen to witness the moment of vanishing of a given mental image or a given thought or a given emotional body sensation, which you will, simply note that, and if you want, label it gone. This practice of noticing gone, of noticing the changing nature of all appearances, of all experience, reaffirms the fact of impermanence of everything that arises in your mind, of everything that your mind is, that you are. Everything is changing and everything is fading. This knowledge itself can be a useful resource when you find yourself in those darkest of times. But interestingly, it also allows you to enjoy those bright times without the fear of their vanishing, without the disappointed expectation when they do vanish, without holding on to them for longer than they will remain. Something to consider. And now, let's put this into direct application. To do that, I'm going to have to trigger some stuff. Nothing alarming, nothing too alarming anyway. This is a crash course for relatively broad consumption, so, nothing fundamentally shattering will happen. But we do have to trigger some stuff in order to see this applied in action in real time, in order to see how it might reshape the way we relate to our experience and our discomfort. Put your hand on your chest and take a moment to hear and feel and tune into your heartbeat. As you do this, you might take some purposefully relaxed deep breaths with nice long exhales, allowing yourself a slight pause in between the exhale and the next inhale. Simply listen or feel your heartbeat. Given that we have been sitting here for a while, it might be quite nice and relaxed. And it is really nice. It's a comforting thump. There it is, working away. Hopefully, for most of us, healthy or healthy enough. It's a clear sign that you are alive and around, so you can enjoy things and hang out with the people you love and do something fun and useful. Appreciate this for a moment. Now, you don't have to get all hippie about it and say thank you to your heart, but if you want to, by all means, go for it. And if you're into gratitude practices, your heart is a really good candidate for your gratitude. You don't make it beat. It's not that you wake up every morning and go through practices of your Tibetan spinnings or whatever to get your heart going, and then with your mind concentrated at all times, keep it going throughout the day. It just does all of this by itself. It is you, yes, but, without it, there is no you, so thank you, heart. You are a rock star. Listen to it. Really enjoy this. It is really, really nice. Allow enjoyment to be triggered here. It is kind of nice to be alive. If it really wasn't, you wouldn't be. Something to think about. So just sit there. Allow the warmth that you feel towards your heart to spread from the center of your chest. Let it fill your chest, your abdomen. Let it work its way up your throat to your face. Breathe easy and let it spread. And take a moment to truly appreciate the absolute certainty, the unavoidable fact that someday, probably a lot sooner than you would hope, that heart of yours is going to stop. Perhaps abruptly. There will be the last beat, and that will be quite abrupt. You are going to die. And all of the things that you have not completed, all of the self-worth that you think you have not yet achieved are going to remain uncompleted and unachieved. And no, you will most certainly not be able to complete them all and achieve them all before you go. And all of the people that you love and people who love you will remain devastated. Take a moment to appreciate this. Truly, this is fact. You are going to die, and you are dying right now. Each heartbeat moving you closer to that last one. And now also appreciate that as something of a sick joke, that heart of yours has almost certainly begun beating faster. A little faster or a lot faster. If you let yourself truly appreciate this, it will certainly have quickened. And with each faster heartbeat, it is getting you closer and closer to that one last one. There is a limited amount. We just don't know what it is, or we'll find out when you die. And then we'll write it down somewhere, I suppose. Allow yourself to appreciate that what is happening right now is that the words coming out of my mouth and the sound of your heart beating has triggered a disturbance, an internal subjective state of affairs that feels disturbed. You don't feel as good as you did before. In fact, you might want all of this to go away. You might want to look away. You might want it to stop immediately. You might want that warm bliss of great gratitude towards your heart to come back. Please, now, immediately, before I die, give me more of the good stuff and less of this crap. Cool. So now we have ourselves a little bit triggered. Given that we are here and probably not believers in common sense, we are not going to apply the common sense practices of making ourselves feel better by looking away from shit we don't like, pretending that it isn't there, or arguing against it. Instead, we are going to sit perfectly still. You can put your hand away from your heart, back into its practice position, and simply begin paying very close attention to this internal subjective experience of being disturbed, without judgment, without opinion. Remember, those judgments, your disliking of this disturbance, and your opinions, such as, oh, well, this is bullshit, or whatever it may be, they're all a part of the disturbance. And you're going to attend to this very closely and see it clearly for what it is. A cloud of experience, arisings into different domains of sensory inputs, of seeing mental imagery, of hearing mental talk, of feeling emotional body sensations. And these have become intertwined and entangled and congealed like a lump of something nasty that you rather don't like. Notice this. See through it. If this is a lot for you, and it might be, you may start purposefully somewhere. And so you may bring your attention to the space of feeling your emotional body sensations and find that bit of butterfly in your stomach or the tension in your throat. Find it, feel it, without looking away, without trying to resolve it. And see if you can let go of the tendency to analyze it. Oh, this is fear. Oh, this is terror. Oh, this is uncomfortable. Or, if you're highly self-protective, oh, well, this is nothing. It isn't nothing. It's a feeling. There is something there. It might not be great or particularly intense, but it is a feeling. It doesn't matter what emotion has brought it up. It doesn't matter what it means. Try to uncouple all of the thoughts away from it. Peel away all of the words that you use to describe how you feel. What do you have left? Find that. Maybe you can put your hands somewhere in the area and then imagine giving it space. That piece of stone that has suddenly found itself at the base of your lungs, give it space. It isn't going to make the pain go away. It isn't going to make the pain any less, but it is going to allow it to diffuse. In order to appreciate our experience fully, as it is, we have to not flinch. We have to give space to our suffering. Let it be, and you will notice that it begins to change naturally. It might begin to soften, fade, or turn into something else entirely. Notice this. Feel it. And then move from here. If you notice that your attention moves, or if you yourself move it to a thought, regardless of the content of the thought, note it as a moment of thinking, and if you want, label it hearing. And by the way, content can be something like, I'm not bothered. I'm a 21st century person. I know I'm going to die. I do not believe in all sorts of gibberish. This is nothing. Cool. But this too is mental talk. Note it and label it hearing. And then, if you notice that your attention has moved onto mental imagery, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be the image of you on your deathbed. It could be memories of a death you have witnessed. It could be images of your loved ones in tears. It could be an image of an apple or of a green elephant. It doesn't matter what it is. Note it and label it. Seeing. And then you might find yourself engaging in the conversation of working out what this mental imagery really is, what it means, and how it shouldn't be there. Oh, cool. There's thinking going on. Note that and label it hearing. You get the gist. Spend a few minutes doing this and allow yourself to truly appreciate that every mental appearance, every mental image, every mental talk, every piece of emotional body sensation, the very moment you look at it clearly, it begins to change, unravel, and vanish into nothingness, comes from nothing and returns to nothing. And there you are at the edge of the waterfall. Allow it to take its natural course. Allow the pain and the fear and the discomfort or the delusions of not being bothered to wash through you and move on. And they will, in their own time. They will not hang around longer than they are unless you try to make them go away. And they will not leave sooner than you let them. But you cannot let them if you keep seeing them as a part of a congealed ball of being disturbed. Disentangle it gently. As before, a pace can really help. One noting per breath gives you enough time to note and to focus and to see the change and to experience the vanishing and to let everything else go. Allow your breaths to deepen naturally. They will. Allow those emotional body sensations that arise, the tightnesses, the feeling of being disturbed, to relax naturally. They will. And each time you notice a relaxation of tightness in your throat or your jaw or your diaphragm, even if you do the relaxing, notice this as a moment of rest in the middle of being disturbed. Allow those mental images, so alarming when they arise, to change in their own time, to take their own course, and to fade away when they want to, without interfering with them. And allow those possibly harsh words of your thoughts to unravel, like a song stuck in your head that stops once you look at it as a song-shaped thought. Keep going, seeing, hearing, feeling. Gone. And once your disturbance has revealed itself as more fluid than it initially appeared, and you find yourself relating to it a bit more loosely, take the last minute of this application to do nothing. Simply drop all of your efforts, all of your tracking, noting, labeling, following, and do nothing at all for a minute. Let your attention do what it does. Don't follow it. There's no need. Let your breath do what it does. Don't follow it. There's no need. Simply sit for a minute. So you might get the general gist here. The thing about being alive is that it is disturbing. You will be disturbed because disturbance is what you get here. I think James Lowe said that. And it's true. It will be uncomfortable. Whatever word you use for uncomfortable is irrelevant. Pain, fear, devastation, desperation, uncertainty, depression, anxiety. It is just a matter of discomfort and how you relate to it. And there are two broad ways of relating to discomfort, and comfort too. One is trying to make yourself feel better. The other is not. Most of us, most of the time, go around life trying to make ourselves feel better. Some of the tools that we use are more effective than others, and some of them are really worth getting very good at. But that's not the point. All of the ways that we try to make ourselves feel better in the face of discomfort rely on the fundamental assumption that this dumpster fire of a disturbance that has been triggered by my words and your heart beating, for instance, is big and scary and solid, and its flames are hot, and it is a threat to you. All of our attempts to make ourselves feel better in the presence of discomfort, whether these be therapy or ambition or drugs, smoking and drinking, it doesn't really matter. All of them rest on the fundamental assumption that you are small and limited and fragile and threatenable. That is, that uncomfortable experiences, your uncomfortable experiences, are a threat to you, and that you have to be protected. And the more you go around protecting yourself, the more afraid you become, the more you believe this. Of course, your tools of protection over time become monstrous and scary, swords and weapons and armors. But then you realize you're just made of coping mechanisms, and the whole of your fear simply deepens. The other approach of relating to discomfort, no matter how far on the scale of nothing to disabling alarming it is not to try to protect yourself. It is to realize that the belief that you have to be protected from your own experience is a part of the disturbance. The belief that you are so small so that you need to be protected, that you are so small that you cannot bear the pressure of life or the pressure of the shitty thing that seems to have happened, is part of the disturbance. And it is just mental talk, mental imagery, and emotional body sensations arising and flowing. But you have engaged in conversation with them, identified with them. And so what we do when faced with our dumpster fires is we don't move. We practice seeing it clearly for what it is, an experience, a congealment, an intertwining or an entanglement of different appearances arising in the spaces of seeing, hearing, and feeling. An entanglement that we did not choose. It's not like you set out and picked certain mental images, certain pieces of mental talk, and certain emotional body sensations and brought them together into I'm fucked. It just did it by itself, triggered by my words and the sound of your heartbeat, for instance. And once you start seeing things as they are, with practice, the moment you look at it this way, it begins to disentangle. Now, this doesn't make the pain not be there. We are not magically making things go away. It doesn't make the fact that your heart will stop beating go away. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't make discomfort comfortable, but it allows you to stand in discomfort skillfully and not do stupid things or things you know you would rather not do in an attempt to protect yourself from it. It allows wisdom of action, and that's quite important. Anyway, see if you can take this with you today. You don't have to take the full practice, but take this perspective of how you relate to discomfort. And if you can, remember to see through the delusion of going about life becoming comfortable being uncomfortable. I mean, yes, push the boundaries of what you're comfortable with, absolutely. But every single discomfort that you turn into comfort doesn't resolve anything. There's always going to be more discomfort. Discomfort is part of being alive. You will be disturbed because disturbance is what you get here. And so maybe the project of turning discomforts into comforts, getting rid of the bad and filling our lives up with the good, is not all it is cracked up to be. Maybe it makes us more assholes than we think, to ourselves primarily, and then to others. Maybe it makes all of our aspirations and goals motivated by this a life raft, an attempt to protect ourselves, leaving it hollow. Maybe that is part of the reason things don't seem permanently fulfilling and something feels off most of the time. Instead, see if you can be brave and free. Free to be uncomfortable, skillfully, and act wisely. Because maybe, just maybe, when faced with the dumpster fire of your negative experiences, your experience that you do not like, you are not so threatened because maybe you're just a little bit fireproof, or at least willing to bet on it. Have fun with it. Until next time.